So Gigi just got off a plane from a trip in Tel Aviv. How long are you there for?
I was there for an entire week, and I am
right.
so exhausted. If I'm low energy, I'm so sorry. I traveled for like 20 hours today, so it's a little bit, off the norm for me, but I'm glad I'm here.
Well, you look nice and bright, so thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, duh. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Yeah.
Well, what happened in Tel Aviv? How did they like the film?
They loved the film. So we premiered it there in the Middle East because YouTube Red is like not a thing out there. So when I was, invited out there for the film festival, I was like, oh my God, yes, of course. And of course it was Pride there as well, which is like so perfect. So we did the Middle Eastern premiere over there. And then we had a second screening, and I saw a lot of the same faces, and people were really, really enjoying it. And there was laughter and tears, and people had really great feedback, so it was good.
Well, for the two of you, what's it been like touring this film around? I mean, you had a premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. I think it was the first YouTube Red original film to ever premiere at the festival, so congrats on making history.
Yes, it was.
Yes. What's it been like to tour it to audiences that aren't necessarily familiar with who you are?
It's an honor for sure. YouTube Red is kind of like a new thing. So to be at such, a level of a film festival like Sundance, it was just like, it was so above my standards. I always wanted a film, but I never thought that it would be taken in by such an amazing film festival. I just wanted it to be seen. And when Barbara took it on, it was kind of just like, okay, now we're at a different level. So, now Sundance is achievable. And now that it's happened, it's kind of just like, pinch me. Is this my life?
I was blown away. I watched it for a second time today because I love it so much. And I'm just blown away by the fact that you recorded so much, knowing that one day you wanted to put it into a film like this, because a lot of the footage that you all saw today has never been released on YouTube or anything like that. Can you talk about that and how that came to you in the first place?
Yeah, well, I had always been kind of, a very controlling person, whether it came to my personal life or my career. And I would just always film, and then edit and post right away. So when I started my transition, I was kind of like, why don't I just keep a little video diary just for me, my friends, and my family, so we can watch it back, and I can have, like a balance of privacy and what's public, and just not throw it all out there. So, when Barbara came along and we gave her all of the footage, which a lot of it was not used. I filmed so much stuff. She only used the really good stuff.
Do you know a figure in terms of how many hours?
I'm not sure. I think it was like something like...
I have no idea. We ripped a lot of your YouTube off of YouTube. Yeah. So, but it was remarkable. It was like Christmas every time we found more footage of Gigi. Mm-hmm. And so it really became the spine of the film. And then I did a long, arduous interview with her for over 3 hours, asking her every personal question imaginable. And that became sort of the narration of the film. And then the later stuff is all filmed by us.
Okay. Now, Gigi, you're so used to being in control of how you present yourself to the world. It's how you made your name. In this case, you gave all the footage over to Barbara, two-time Oscar winner. You're in good hands, but you're taking a risk. What made you do that?
I just felt it was right. When we met, I always just thought, trust your instinct, and that's kind of how I've always gone with my life and just gone with what feels right. So when we met, I was like, okay, I can trust her. And she had, so many great films that I had heard of. I'd seen the one about the Dixie Chicks, which I'm sure everyone has seen. That was the one that I was like, oh my God, she did that movie? Wow, that's a big name. So, that was the one that I kind of gagged over. So I was like, let her have full control. She can make it movie magic. I would just make it another YouTube video. And she really made it something special.
Wow, you really trust me. I also want to say that my co-director, Cecilia Peck, for the Dixie Chicks is here. Cecile? Huh? Anyway, but yeah, you really did take a big risk because Gigi never saw the film until it was at Sundance. And there she was showing her whole life unfold in front of 650 people with her family and her closest friends sort of huddled around her. And that was very brave and courageous, and I'll always love you for that.
Oh, I love you too. I saw no other way. With you on the film, I just thought, you know, it was so special. And the fact that my family was there and my girlfriend was there and my manager was there, my managers were there, it was just so special, and I felt really, really safe. And I feel like the first time I watched it, I didn't even really see it. I didn't pay attention. I think the second time I really took it in. And now I've seen it so many times I can like recite every word.
Me too. Also, too, I mean, your father was so amazing. And at Sundance, he just got up there, started talking, and started crying. And the whole audience gave him a standing ovation. And as we were in the editing room, so many different people who would like peek their little head in, and we'd show them a little bit, and they'd say, "Oh, I want a father like that. Yeah. So sweet, so understanding, so loving," even though he probably didn't understand any of it, but he wasn't going to let that stop him from just having his own transition.
Yes, and that's Barbara says this a lot. And the first time you said it, I didn't quite understand it, but my father and I feel like transitioned together because he didn't really understand where I was coming from, and it was a new ballpark for him. But also, I was going through a journey, so we kind of just did it together. And I think that that's what made our bond so special. And I was so shocked at how open he was on camera. Yeah. I watched the film, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? He cried for you on camera?" I've seen this man cry like 10 times maybe in my whole life. So that was really special that you brought out that side of him, and he was really vulnerable.
Well, I think that he was ready, and also your brothers. I got the whole Lazzarato.
Got everyone to cry.
You're so lucky to have the family that you have in your life. Your dad is so supportive. It was so beautiful to watch him really, you know, profess his love to you in the movie, in the interview footage. What do you say to those transgender people that are less fortunate than you that watch this film and wish they had a father like yours?
You know, that's one thing that I really wanted to harp on. I really want to harp on every single time I do. You know, I sit with an audience and watch the film or speak to anybody that wants advice going through a transition or in the LGBTQ plus community and feeling, you know, not as confident about themselves. I think it's really important to surround yourself with people, family or not. You can choose your own family. Through friends that support you and want the best for you. So, you know, I think that in the film, we've touched that I was very blessed a lot of times with my brothers loving me and my dad loving me and, you know, my mother always supporting me. And I definitely don't want people to ever think that I take that for granted because I am so lucky and I do acknowledge that and I know that.
But Gigi, too, also has given back so tremendously. It's as if she's having a global or a world communication when you go on YouTube. And I think that because of your presence there, you've stopped many people from just feeling alone or suicidal, and you've built such an extraordinary community, and you're pretty wonderful.
Right back at you, girl. I think that's the power of YouTube, though. That's where I started, you know, in high school. I had friends, of course, but I just wanted more. So I kind of just reached out to the online community and started putting on makeup and testing it out. And people would obviously say mean things, but there was positivity, and I felt a kind of community and like a camaraderie amongst people that I didn't even know in real life. So it was this like kind of like special moment that a lot of more people are feeling nowadays.
It's wild to think back to where you started on YouTube doing makeup tutorials and to what you do in the film, which is really tell your story to inspire the world. what made you take that leap of faith with your viewers to expose so much of your own personal journey?
Honestly, I feel like it's just always been in me. I think it took a little bit of warming up to the YouTube platform and kind of, putting it all out there. But for the most part, I remember when I came out as transgender online. I remember making that video and holding on to it for a little bit. But then when I pressed send or upload, I just was like, okay, this is everyone's, notification that this is who I am. And it was very validating for me. So I think it's just all about being authentic at the end of the day. And I think, sharing and hearing back from my supporters and people who really, really do have my back is really, really, it's satisfying. And it makes me feel authentic and, loved. Like they always just see my point of view, and I can always talk to them about anything that's going on, and they can relate.
How's your fan base reacted to this documentary?
I think it's been. I think some misconceptions of me were definitely cleared up. I think some people before the film may have thought that I was like this, glamorous, perfect person with no problems and whatever. But I think this film really broke it down. And Barbara actually came up with the title, "This Is Everything," and that was at pretty much the beginning of when we started working together.
When you first came to the office, and I showed you one scene, which was...
I begged her. I was like, I want to see something. It was right after Fashion Week, so I was like, show me how I look, please.
And that actually ended the film. And you sort of looked at it and said, well, that's cute. And I said, well, how about this for a title? This is everything, Gigi Gorgeous. Oh, I don't know. And off you went.
It took me a second. Now I can't even picture it as anything else. It's just, this is everything. It's everything.
I love that. About showing so much of your journey, especially the transformational process, the physical surgery that you had to undergo. It was hard to watch for some people in the audience that I saw it with today. There was a lot of and ahs, and it looked painful. And what was that like to revisit for you in this form and to share it with so many people?
Watching it, I can speak personally, watching it for the first or second time done in the film was almost like a spiritual experience for me. Watching myself undergo such change and without fear. Now I'm a lot more, squeamish towards surgery and anything gruesome, or I don't even watch horror movies anymore. I just don't like it. It's, grosses me out. But it just showed my drive at the time. I really wanted that done. And I think it's really important to know that everyone's transition looks different. I think you don't need surgery. You don't need all of that. I think that's just, it was a story about me. So I think, the whole transgender community, I think a lot of stigma is put on plastic surgery and cosmetics. And I think that's so wrong, because being transgender is what happens inside. It's your soul.
You strike me as such a grounded person, despite all the fame and all the followers you have. I want to read some crazy figures. You have 2.6 million YouTube subscribers. That's current. 2.3 million Instagram followers. And a smaller figure for Twitter, but 308,000. But it's Twitter, so,
Still love tweeting. My Instagram photos.
Yeah. How do you stay grounded when you hear those astonishing figures and have your face? I go to the Equinox on Sunset Boulevard, and there was your face plastered, over I don't know how many floors that was. I think 10 or 12 floors. That's wild.
It is so crazy. So I moved to LA 2.5 years ago, and I always dreamed of my face on a billboard. I think that was just, but that was just in the back of my head. That wasn't my goal. It was just this would be really cool. And then when, the movie came out and it was just this film was everywhere, people in New York were like, wow, we see you on the subways. And it was just, it's really, really special. I feel super, amazing about it. I feel really proud, and it was definitely a lot of hard work. It's not like I was just given it, but it's the fact that YouTube is behind it is what makes me really, really happy. The fact that they're putting that much, power behind an LGBTQ film, especially given the time that we're in right now. I think that it's very telling that they are, going to fight for us, and they always have.
You brought up the time that we live in right now. It's a pretty terrifying time for transgender individuals. What do you hope this film achieves?
You know, I actually, so little short story. So when we premiered the film at Sundance, there was a Q&A afterwards, and it was a little boy, and it was so many people, so I could barely see with the light. And we were all crying, so I could barely see through my tears. And this little boy said, you know, I go to school in Malibu, and there's this gay, lesbian, and youth program I run there. GSA, Gay Straight Alliance. I'm sorry. And he goes, well, what can I do? Because my group is so small at school. How can I get all the other kids to really, you know, get into it? Because I think it's really special. So I said, well, you know what? Why don't I come out and we can all talk about it? So the school like arranged this huge assembly. It was so crazy. And just to see how the entire school reacted to me and my story, and Dylan's, just like going, he really did go after his dream and get it. You know, he made the GSA program in his high school really, really successful, and now it's doing really, really well. And I'm really proud of him. And just like things like that, hearing that the schools show the movie, I think is, very humbling and amazing.
Yeah, well, I think it was really unbelievable of you to do that. And I think you changed a lot of people. I just showed the film in Great Barrington, and the people's reaction there was amazing. This woman stood up and said, this has to be in every single school right away. What can I do to make it happen? I mean, it was just extraordinary, and we're just getting really wonderful reactions. No tomatoes have been thrown yet. Yeah.
Well, you brought up YouTube, and I brought up the fact that you made history at Sundance this year. And to Barbara, a veteran documentary filmmaker, I'm just curious to get your thoughts on what that means to you for the medium. And you obviously embrace this format. Is it something you'd embrace in the future?
As documentary filmmakers, we love getting our films out, but also what's important is a live audience like this, because we can feel you. I sit through every single film whenever I'm there for the entire time, because I want to hear where you laugh, and I want to hear, when you're probably falling asleep or something like that. But this means so much to me. And then having a place like YouTube that's so supportive, putting it out to so many millions of people that you can just never reach. But I love doing live. I love going to festivals.
I just wanted to really congratulate both of you, Barbara and Gigi, because the humanistic part of this beautiful film is capturing this relationship with your boyfriend and the heartache that we all go through, independent of gender, that you go through falling in love and the heartbreak, and capturing that I thought was so beautiful, independent. I just wish the best for you, and I love the film.
Thank you.
Well,
No?
Gigi,
Who has a question?
Gigi is totally in love. And
Yes.
Nats is here
My
somewhere.
girlfriend is here. She's wearing my beanie.
Yes.
Little black
and
beanie.
They're joined at the hip and are never apart. So
Ever.
ever.
She's the one shrinking into her seat right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. She's the one sending darts my way.
Yep, right there.
Thank you, first of all.
Did everyone hear that? Yeah? No? What do you do to combat negativity?
Well, usually, if it's in the comment section, I think fueling it only really backfires, and it gives people, acknowledgement, and it maybe gets people who didn't necessarily see that, who maybe are young or not thinking about that kind of certain thing. It opens their minds to that, and then it gets just more attention. But most of the time, to be completely honest, I take a lot of it with humor, because even if it's something is ridiculously ignorant, I'm not going to combat back at it. You know, it just doesn't make sense. It's going to be like, oh, okay, well, let me pray for that person really fast and then move on with my day. Because I'm not really worried about them. I'm worried about me.
But you've always had that attitude. I mean, the earliest footage in the film, you know, when you're telling off your haters, that got such a loud response tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you're
wish
always
you
worried
were
about
here.
it.
This was the greatest audience.
Right?
They
Give
were
'em hell.
laughing. Yes.
Yes, give them hell. I
Great.
love that.
I want to know who you credit that to, though. Is it thanks to your mother or thanks to your father? Your upbringing obviously played a huge role in your attitude towards that.
I definitely think my mom had a lot to do with it. She was just so confident and self-aware and really funny and just always, you know, lighting up the room with her personality. And she was just always sure of who she was. And if she didn't want to do something, she did not do it. You could not get her to do something that she didn't want to do, unless it was for her kids or her husband. But I think also I owe it a lot to like me, you know, just going out there and getting a job really young and being around people and just seeing, you know, interacting with life and just experiencing it early on. Because I had expensive taste. My mom was like, "You're not borrowing my makeup anymore. You need to go buy your own."
Yeah. Sorry, this. Oh. Do you see? Do you see yourself settling down, becoming a housewife, a mom?
Totally. I don't think I'd ever become a housewife unless it was like a real housewife of like Beverly Hills on TV.
They need you. They need
Because
you.
that's like still working. I'm a workaholic. I love working, even though I mean I do love traveling and going on vacation too. I think I'm happiest when I'm working and creating and putting stuff out there. So I don't think I'll ever stop. Yeah.
You won't.
I don't think I'll stop. Yeah. Maybe vacations constantly though.
You've been doing well.
Yeah, we've been doing really well.
Have athlete friends been supportive of your transition?
Honestly, that's a really good question. I've actually never been asked that before because I stopped diving right as I started YouTube and kind of becoming into my true self. And not to say that diving wasn't my true self, but really experimenting with makeup and, you know, my identity and really doing a lot of soul searching. A lot of them that have reached out to me, you know, through Facebook or whatever, very, very positive, because they know me. You know, we travel together, we know each other. I'm sure some people think some other things, but people have been really positive for the most part just because they're happy, you know, happy that someone can find themselves.
Are you going to be taking it on road because the film is
Right?
mandatory viewing for the whole world?
I would love to take it to the moon at this point, just everywhere.
There might not be anyone to see it though.
Aliens? We could teach aliens?
But yes, it's been in Stockholm, it's been in New Zealand, it's been in Australia, and more places want it. So
How
absolutely.
global is the YouTube Red thing? Do you know how many countries that goes to?
Mostly not too many foreign. They do a little streaming, but
Okay.
mostly it goes to film festivals.
All right. Great. Were you self-taught when it comes to makeup?
That's so sweet. Thank you for saying that. You actually remind me a lot of my best friend's mom right now. So weird. So left field, but you totally do. My friend from high school, Sierra, you remind me so much of her mother. All self-taught for sure, but something weird. I don't really do makeup on other people. I think it was just all about knowing your own face, because whenever, I was asked, oh my God, I had friends who got married. They're like, I really want you to do my makeup because you look so good with your makeup on. I'm like, well, thank you, but I'm not going to make you look any kind of good. You need a professional. So yeah, just on me and self-taught, yeah.
And Nat sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can check that out on youtube.com/Gigi Gorgeous. Me doing my girlfriend's makeup.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Right? Well, we actually just partnered with Revlon Cosmetics, which is very exciting. First transgender spokesperson for the brand, and I've always loved them, and I love their tagline in particular, "Love is on." I think it's a particularly genderless tagline, and I really love that about the brand, and I couldn't be happier to be with them.
And Gigi's doing a book on makeup, so maybe you could be first in line to read that.
Yes, a book tour. I agree for sure. I think especially with a platform like YouTube, get your message out there and educate and share your story, and that's the best way to educate. Just telling your truth, being authentic, because I've had so many, times in my life where I've met a younger person and their father or their mother just tends to be there. And I see them, the way that they kind of turn around from the beginning of the conversation to the end, just from getting a sense of personality from a human being.
And I went and spoke in front of influencers, and everybody stood up and told me their story. And some of their stories were so heartbreaking, and how they turned a corner and they really changed their lives, and that was amazing. I mean, everybody was so open there, telling me their deepest, darkest secrets as we all, stood up and spoke about our lives. So it's really a tremendous thing to be able to share something like this, and to know there are people out there that will listen and will care about you, and that you're not alone.
What was Barbara's editing style?
It really wasn't that much different than other editing styles, except we had so much of Gigi's footage. And usually it's mostly our footage, but it just worked so beautifully. It just was really seamless, and we loved it. I mean, anytime an assistant editor would digitize material, she'd come running in, yelling, "It's so good, it's so good." And the whole spirit at my little company, Cabin Creek, people were really excited and really happy. And we have these sort of collective screenings where I have everybody in the office, if they want to, come in when we're screening selects or first rough cut. And for this film, it just felt different. It felt like everybody had their heart in it, and everybody felt good after the screenings, and it was wonderful. It was a really special, special film.
Was it a quicker turnaround for you? Because you came on in 2016, this premiered in January at Sundance. I mean, that's quite a tight turnaround for all the footage you had.
Did I come on 16 or 15?
15?
I think so.
Okay.
But yes, it was a quicker turnaround. Everybody wanted me to finish it within 2 months. And I would call Gigi and I'd say, "I'm not doing that."
Yeah, she'd be like, fight. She'd be like, "You need to fight for me." I'd be like, "Girl, I got you. This is my film. Are you joking? Anything you need, Barbara." Kopple calling me.
So we would have these discussions as people. And should I tell the Sundance story?
Which one?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a really secret story, but it was so much fun. So I'm gonna
like
share it
secret
with
stories.
you.
I don't know that. I don't.
Oh yes, you do.
I don't. It's
Okay.
not.
All right. So I'm sitting in a meeting at YouTube, and
Oh. Yes.
Do you want her to tell this?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, so good.
Should I tell
Yes.
it?
Oh my God,
okay.
so good.
All right. All right. And I'm sitting in a meeting at YouTube, and they're saying to me, okay, well, you have to finish this in 2 months. And I'm saying, but I need longer. And I said to them, but what if we got into Sundance? Would you let me have the time I needed? And they said, well, you're not going to find out until, you know, November or October, and that's too long for us. I said, but what if I did? And what if I got in sooner? Wow. And so they said, bitch. Okay. And then I had. And so I had the invitation in my purse. I took it out. I gave it to them. They opened it, and I said, so? And they said, take the time that you need. So it was wonderful.